You are watching TFI.
Yeah, so I didn't quite need 2 weeks to make my mind up on how I felt about the Vive Cosmos. Sadly, my mind was made up within the first few minutes and definitely within the first hour or so of using the Vive Cosmos. So it's going back, unfortunately. It's going back to HTC. It's the first time I've ever refunded a major piece of technology like this. Out of principle, this is going back. So I'm not going to trash on it. I'm not going to go on a rampage and a rant. There'll be people out there who've bought one of these and it's their first ever VR headset. And to them, this is probably amazing. But from someone who owns an original Vive, best product I've ever bought. Absolutely love it. I own the original Rift and the Rift S. And then I went on to this. From that point of view, this is absolutely terrible. It's a dreadful product. I'm going to just break it down into my top 5 with a couple of honorable mentions, reasons why I'm sending this back to HTC, and I'm doing it in manageable chunks just in case you're in the same boat, mate. You're coming off of the Rift S and you're wondering whether or not it's worth coming to one of these. So here we are with the top 5. Right, first things first, let's get the biggest one out of the way, and that's the tracking. The tracking is woefully broken. It's, and I think fundamentally broken beyond fixing. Honestly think that HTC knew how bad the tracking was. The fact that they've released it to the public in the state that it is suggests to me that it's not fixable. The feel of how broken it is when you're in it feels like it's beyond a firmware update. The fact that it can't track within sort of a 1 foot radius of the headset, it can't go, maybe the obscuring the controller issue is fixable via firmware. The rest of them I just don't think they are. I released a video talking about this and I was met with quite a bit of hostility when I released that, from people saying, what do I expect? It's camera-based tracking, you're expecting too much, you're exaggerating a tiny problem. It's day one, come on, give them a chance, all that kind of thing. I mean, no, it's day one argument implies that humans used this for the first time last week when it was launched. That's obviously not the case. They had a chance to fix this over the multiple months and possibly years whilst this was being developed. It would have been tested extensively internally by multiple people, internally and externally to HTC. If you honestly believe that this tracking, the way it is now, wasn't recognised by anybody over the entire duration of the testing, I don't know what to tell you, mate, because it's blindingly obvious how bad this is. And the fact that they still released it to the public in the state that it is now suggests to me this is not fixable. Or if at best they can put band-aids over it, which at this price point isn't acceptable. And to answer the question of what do I expect, well, I've put up a couple of videos right now of me comparing the Rift S to the Vive Cosmos's tracking. The Rift S uses the same inside-out tracking and it works flawlessly. You can put the controllers anywhere in space. You can have the controllers out completely of vision of the trackers on the headset and it will still track. I don't know how, and I don't care, it's not my problem to work that out, but Oculus did. HTC didn't or couldn't. That's what I expect. I expect the tracking to be fit for purpose. If HTC couldn't figure out how to track a controller going behind your arm, which is not an unexpected scenario, let's be honest, that happens, then it's not fit for purpose and they should have went for something else and they should have innovated, except they didn't. They released it in the state it's in, and that's the main reason, number one, why this is going back to HTC. Issue number 2 is one that I've not seen mentioned anywhere else, and that's light leak through the top. What are you talking about, Neil? Well, means the light comes through here, shines through this gap and then straight onto the lens, and when it's pitch black in here but a pinhole bit of light coming through the top, you get this blinding god ray shining across the lens which obscures everything in its path. and that's not present on any other VR headset that I've ever used. The usual God rays are bright lights from the panel reflecting off the lenses, so it's an internal God ray. This is an external God ray, and my room's not exactly unusual either. I'm in a regular sized room. I've got 4 ceiling mounted spotlights shining directly down on me, which, bear in mind, if I didn't have them, this thing would be kicking off even more about the fact that the room and the environment's too dark. In the UK especially, it's very common to have rooms lit by ceiling lights. That's a thing. And then the lights are shining straight through the gaps here and then onto the lenses. And number 3 is the impossible sweet spot. This thing has an incredibly narrow margin for lining your eyes up inside it to get perfect vision. And even when you do, it's still very blurry in your peripheral vision. And because this headband is very awkward to adjust, like I said, you've got to get it really tight. And the tighter you make this headband, the more it lifts up at the bottom, and then you've got to adjust it and get that perfect spot. And then if you do decide, I need to click a button or pick up my phone or use my Vive or something, you hinge this up, and then when you move it back down, you've got to readjust to find that sweet spot again. It is so fiddly and fidgety to try and get that sweet spot. That makes it as number 2 for me, mate. It's not a thing I've had to deal with on any other headset. The original Vive, the Rift S, the original Rift, yes, they have a sweet spot, but it's much bigger than this one. Number 4 is the awful controllers. Now, ignoring the tracking, these controllers are not the best. Clear costs have been cut in the production and design of these controllers. Now, the trigger, for example, feels like, if you want to buy an Xbox controller, but you don't want to drop 50 quid on the proper Microsoft branded controllers, so you go to the bargain bin and you buy the one for $5.99. And the buttons, well, you feel the cheapness straight away. Well, that's what these feel like. The buttons around the trigger, so for example the grip button, the top trigger, these are just sort of binary click on, click off. There's no progressive analog functionality going on here. So for example, if you're using your VR headset for a training environment, for example, you need to grip an object to move it somewhere else. In VR, we can have simulated hand grip movements. Not with this, unfortunately, because you're either hand open, hand closed, hand open, hand closed, which is a massive regression from what we've got with the Rift S, which copes with that very well. Now, these controllers are also very heavy in comparison to the Rift S controllers, which are practically half the size and also feel like they're half the weight. This thing's so nimble, whereas this thing feels really heavy and bulky. It's heavy enough without the 2 AA batteries in it, which I just don't want to use this enough to go through the batteries, but I've heard that these chew through batteries in a mere 4 hours of heavy use. So you're going to have to cough up for some rechargeable batteries, or you're going to need a battery subscription. But yeah, they're just not great. The only good thing about the controllers is the snap fit clip battery covers, fortunately, and the way they look. In sales imagery, these things look great. In the marketing pictures with the deep black band and the pinstripe tribal lighting going across, they look amazing. But in reality, they're just okay looking and not great to use. And number 5 is, I guess, an amalgamation of the previous 4, and that is the price that this thing's placed at, which is £650. It is absolutely not worth it. Just to put it into context, when I was filming the tracking videos comparing this to the Rift S, I was using the Vive Cosmos for roughly 2 hours straight, and afterwards I couldn't wait to get this thing off my head. It felt so uncomfortable, tight, claustrophobic, weighty, weighing down on my head, gripping in points where it just didn't feel good to have it gripped. And then I put on the Rift S, mate. It felt like jumping out of a Ford Fiesta and into a Bentley Continental. The Rift S is just so lightweight. It is light. The foam pads are so gentle and delicate, and it's very difficult to explain it, but it just felt so nice to put that on my head after having the Cosmos on. And then picking up the controllers and being able to be so dexterous with these things. These feel much better quality, feel lighter. The whole thing feels more, you've got more freedom and flexibility. You forget that one's actually nearly half the price to the Cosmos. I just don't think HTC really have hit the mark at all with where they've priced this thing. Right, mate, so there's a couple of honourable mentions. None of these are deal breakers, these are just things to add on at the end. And the first is the lack of features at launch. The HTC talked about being compatible with the base stations, which can you imagine buying those on top of the price of this? But that support isn't here yet. Additional modules to go into the front faceplate, they're not here yet. The wireless adapter, that's not here yet. Number 2, Honourable mention is the noise of this thing. It's got cooling fans in the front of it, which when they fire up and spin up, they're on almost perpetually. And none of the other headsets have front-mounted cooling fans, so I'm not entirely sure why this needs it. But when the fans are spinning up, it sounds like someone's got a hairdryer on in the room next door. It's that sort of you know it's a close noise. You can sense that it's close, but it sounds like a distant hairdryer noise, and it's really loud and noticeable. Not a deal breaker by any stretch of the imagination, but not very pleasant either. Also, the headphone placement, I did mention this in one of the videos. Maybe it's unique to my head, I don't know. That's not going to affect everyone, but when this is on my head, these headphones do not click in place. My ears and my head are too wide, and I have to physically force these things into my ear holes for them to click into place. And next up is the cheap cable. The cable, it definitely does feel cheap. It's a 5-meter cable. It feels really grippy and like there's a lot of friction to it, which means that it knots up very easily. It catches on chair legs and tables, and I've seen reports of people saying that there's kinks and crimps and is beginning to look like it's showing the signs of splitting already, which is a huge regression from the original Vive cable, which was the 3 cables sort of glued together, which made them very stiff and rigid and firm, and yeah, they didn't have any problems with that one, whereas this now feels like it's another backward step. And lastly, again, another problem that I don't particularly have, but compatibility is definitely an issue with this for a lot of people. If you've got a lot of applications in a library, you need to check to see whether this is compatible with your applications and your games, because I've heard that it's not. I don't know if that's HTC's fault. It's probably not, unless they failed to send out the headsets to the developers prior to launch. I don't think it's on HTC to make all the applications out there in the world compatible with this. Right, mate, that's it. I'm afraid it's going back. I just can't keep this. It's so disappointing. HTC, the original Vive, is the best product that I've ever bought. I am a huge fan of HTC and that original Vive. When I pre-ordered this, it felt like a safe bet. I felt like I could trust HTC to deliver something which was going to iterate on in all the good ways on the original Vive, but instead they've regressed in so many departments, in almost every department other than just outright resolution, which in all honesty is negated by all of the other visual issues that this thing has. For a company like that with so much experience in the market, to not capitalize on that, that's an asset that they should be using to sell this thing. You know, where the HTC, with the original Vive makers, that gives us credibility with this product, but it's working against them. No excuse for this to be as bad as it is from a company with that much experience. And again, just to repeat, if you're thinking that this might get fixed in the future, you don't know that. As much as I don't know that, and I have to judge this based on it is now, I don't know it's going to be fixed. The fact that it's this broken suggests that why would they release it this bad? I don't know, you don't know, and that means it's going back. I can't take the gamble. I'm going to go and get the Valve Index instead. Right, mate, that'll do it for now. If you found it useful, if this was useful to you, I mean, I'm sorry if you have bought one of these and you feel like it's really good and you're really enjoying it. Honestly, mate, I'm genuinely thrilled for you. This is purely the point of view of someone who's used other VR headsets and has something to compare it to. I can imagine that if this is the first one you've had and you don't know any different, then it probably is pretty good. But honestly, mate, if you had bought the Rift S, you wouldn't have missed out on anything, I'm afraid. The Vive Cosmos isn't introducing anything which the Rift S wouldn't have given to you at nearly half the price. Sorry, man, but that's just how it is. Anyway, thanks very much. If you like this video, do subscribe, click the bell and all that jazz, you know, like and comment. You're gonna, if you're not, you're not gonna. And thanks very much, and I'll see you in the next one, mate. Toodles.